Now, when you were doing this investigation, just a brief recap of your story. We've talked about this on my show before, but you were involved in the highest levels of this type of investigation. Now, just recap a little bit about some of the top-level people, where this investigation went, how, one thing we have to emphasize is Morgenthau, who's still the district attorney in New York, who quashed this investigation, showing that there has to be a cover-up at the highest levels. Just recap this so people can understand how it operates. And you even say that it's worse today than it was 25 years ago.
Yes, it is, because you can add the Internet to it now, and that makes it simpler, quicker, and really tougher to work. By the way, the good news is Morgenthau's not running for re-election. And
okay.
I think anybody who in New York is listening to this, make sure you don't put anybody else in other than Crocker Schneider, who I worked with when she was a young district attorney, and I can assure you, you will see a change. The whole thing with Morgenthau, too, was we had already been working on it for years, and at one point we had information with an informant to put a wiretap into one of the biggest pedophile rings operating on an international level, especially into Washington, D.C., and the big businesses. And we went for the wiretap, and it was the best wiretap application I had ever seen. Everything was documented. And I never forget, we went up to his office, me and my partner, Matty Rosenthal, and we had a lieutenant with us, too, and they flat out denied to give us the wiretap order. And then they sent their investigators out and raided the place and seized the files so that we couldn't get them, because these files were the thing that would have capped our investigation, and we could have taken down probably the biggest pedophile operation that ever existed in the world. So that's one part of it that I was personally involved with and saw what happened. So
I know you had some choice words for Morgenthau. Basically,
yes, we did, but we can't say them on the air.
How did you coexist with those people after that?
We didn't. It became an all-out effort at that point to stop us, and what they did is they compromised our lead counsel at the time by using some work he had done in what was known as the Huey Mulligan grand jury investigation, which was a corruption investigation, and they compromised our counsel, and that's how they stopped us. So that was when we were with the New York State Select Committee on Crime.
Right. So basically their intentions from Morgenthau on down was to cover up the evidence so that the higher level people would be protected. One of these persons they were protecting was a late Cardinal Spellman. Just recap for our listeners what you found out about him, because there are still people in this country who could not believe that someone wearing a robe like his could be involved in such evil. Go ahead.
Well, that was a very interesting investigation. And on the same point, they yet vilified Father Bruce Ritter, who had done what he was supposed to do. But as far as Spellman went, we very early in our investigations, we found out that he was known as Nellie, and I had one of the pimps that supplied him with the little boys was one of my informants. And at that time, the informant told me, if you ever get trouble or you get any heat from Spellman, here is the name, and he gave me the name of one of the kids that have been molested. In fact, that kid got caught in the Cardinal's residence, and they accused him of being a burglar because when the people came in, he ran off wearing the Cardinal shoes, and he was arrested. And the next day at the arraignment, naturally, the Cardinal forgave him for being such how would you say it, a misled youth to go steal his shoes. And that was the end of it. But that was the information I needed to keep him at bay and not bother me. So I never had any trouble with Spellman myself. But we knew all about what it was. Like I say, I had the pedophile that supplied the kids to him.
And they used to call him Nelly in those circles?
Yes, they did.
That was his nickname?
That was his nickname in the pedophile world, yes.
Now, you also mentioned, and this is the connection that I tried to make with the hierarchy of some of the Vatican, and that is their connection to the control of our foreign and domestic policies. You also termed Spellman as one of the most powerful people in New York. And just for our listeners, from your point of view and in investigations, what kind of power did this man wield behind the scenes?
Well,
the Cardinal was supposed to be saving souls. What was his real purpose in life?
His real purpose was power. And a very simple story is, one night there was a young rookie cop up on Fifth Avenue on his patrol, and early in the morning, about 2:30 or so, this old guy comes walking down the street and talks to this cop, and he invites the cop in for a cup of coffee. And they go in, and when the cop comes back out, the sergeant's looking for him, and what we used to call, he wrote him up for being off post. So the next night, the young guy is out there again, and here's the old guy again, and the old guy's, well, how are you today? He says, well, not very good. He says, last night when I went in for a coffee, the sergeant wrote me up for being off post. Oh, he says, I'll take care of that. And within a matter of minutes, the patrol car comes and picks this cop up, and they say to him, what the heck is going on here? And he says, why? He says, what did I do wrong? He says, they want you at the station house. So they go to the station house, and here is the police commissioner and everybody, and apologizing to this cop, and he got promoted. You know, they took him off the street and gave him a good job, and the complaint he had against him was gone away, and everything was taken care of. So you can see if a guy like that can handle something so simple, especially inside the police department within minutes, it just shows you the power that he has.
And that was Spellman, the old man he was meeting with, right?
Yes, that was Cardinal Spellman.
Yeah, amazing. Well, listen, why don't we move on to an interesting... We got only 2 minutes before the break, and I just wanted to set this up because I want to talk about this in the next half hour. Behind the scenes of all these pedophile investigations, you found, and you've documented it before, you see this massive corruption at high levels. Behind the scenes you fell into a story that is so amazing, and I wanted to update it for people, and that was putting the Kennedy assassination into perspective and providing solid evidence of how it took place, as well as evidence that still's out there that's in the hands of that's in the hands of certain high-level bishops in the Vatican, that shows that one of the accomplices actually committed the crime, leaving his final words to this bishop that you've tried to get a hold of. Now, a lot of what is in that statement was told to you in when you took this man into custody over trying to kill another accomplice in the Kennedy assassination. And what it boils down to is that he was involved with certain things that really brought his demise. One, he wanted to change the Federal Reserve banking system. Two, the CIA wanted to restructure. Three, he was talking about this monolithic beast that connects with both supposed religious, and then geopolitical organizations to gain control of a country. And I think he backstabbed the people that put him into power. And it is amazing to me that all this evidence came out right there in front of everybody when you arrested this man. And I thought we'd spend some time talking about that in the next half hour. How does that sound to you, Jim?
Sounds good.
Now tell me, this guy that we want to talk about, he was a former cop, right?
Yes, there are a couple people that were involved. The main guy we're talking about, I assume, is Frank Sturgis.
Right.
Yes, and then there was the other individual. There was a second individual as a result of this that gave me the Vatican stuff, how that all tied together with the confession that Sturgis made to the Cardinal.